Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Avini Vibes. Today is February 20th, 2025. I'm your host, Christine Rolando from Warwick, New York, and my co-host, Carol. Hey, Carol. Missed you last night. Lots of good things were said about you because you're always this happy, smiley face. And Dr. Nakita's in the house, along with Chip Littlejohn, always with us on the Scientific Advisory Board. I think I have that right. So Chip is with us as well. He's driving, so he promised that he'll still be with us. But we're blessed to have the most amazing products in the world and the most amazing leadership and company that saves lives, change lives, and really makes a difference in the world. Please remember, we make no medical claims. We don't diagnose, we don't treat, we don't do any of those things, but we're here to share, we're here to educate one another, and we're also here to learn. And guess what? We do attract the smartest and the brightest. So if you're here, give yourself a pat on the back because you're the smartest and the brightest here that joined us tonight. Thanks for being here. Our topic tonight is something serious that maybe you face with a loved one, maybe you face yourself, maybe you know someone. But it's the topic is I can't be an addict. I am functional. So if you don't know, for 30 years, I was an executive director of various not-for-profits. And the week that I retired, I took off my formal suits, got rid of my suits, and I walked into a friend's store to congratulate him. And he opened up a wine boutique, a very prestigious upscale wine boutique. And he said, "Here, Christine, have a shirt." So I said, "Okay, this sounds like fun. I like wine. I want to, learn about this beautiful, beautiful thing that grow on grapes, right? Maybe I can learn something." But what I did learn is that I saw a lot of happy celebrations, which I loved when people came in to tell me stories that they were buying these bubblies for their celebrations. And I got to know many of the people. But I also saw the dark side of it. I saw the dark side of sadness, the dark side when people came in. It was almost like, I guess, being a counselor or a hairdresser sometimes to listen to people or even listen to people when they walked in. And I can actually name five of them that do not, bless you, do
Okay.
not come anymore because of something called addiction. And what is the definition of addiction? It's a compulsive, chronic, physiological, psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical and psychological or even social effects, and typically causing well-defined symptoms, could define as symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, tremors, nausea, and on and on and on. However, it is a strong inclination to use, and to indulge in something repeatedly. We'll talk a little bit maybe later in a bit. I want to let Dr. Nakita to step up and share about the amazing products. Now, remember, we don't make medical claims, but we're working on a cleaner body that can fix itself. So, Dr. Nakita, would you please join us and share your insights on this topic, please?
Hello, can everybody see me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Mhm. Hi, you guys. I think a couple of weeks ago we had a speaker on and they were talking about something and they mentioned addiction. And that's one of the things in my profession, that's one of the things that I was always like this taboo thing where I couldn't understand or relate to people who are addicted to things, but also I didn't really understand what that meant. Like it's almost kind of like my mom used to always tell me about babies, having a baby. Like, how are you going to be an OBG and you have never had a baby? How are you going to tell them to be okay and breathe through the pain when you never really experienced it? And it was kind of like that veil where I didn't really understand or I couldn't like empathize with people who were going through addiction. And also like how could I understand what that meant, right? And so that led me to like do a little research and I found out this amazing things I wanted to share with you, right? Now, yes, this is a very serious topic. Addiction remains to be a significant public health concern here in the United States. It affects millions of people. The prevalence of the use of disorders, like what we say, like when she said the definition of addiction, that overall impact, they did some studies like from like the last thing I read was like 2020. And it said approximately like 40 odd million people aged 12 and older in the United States had a substance use disorder. Um, and that's basically almost 15% of our population. And that's, and I mean, and just alcohol alone um, was about 10% of Americans aged 12 and older experience alcohol use disorder in the past year. And then the other thing was drugs, and that disorder, approximately like 27 some odd million Americans, age 12 and older, because we're going to make sure you understand 12 years and older are reported battling a drug disorder in the past year, right? And that was that area where I really didn't see a lot of like how could I help them, like how could I impact them, or even how could I empathize with what was going on. And then with research, I realized there's a lot of other things that attribute to the addiction, right? We have family dynamics, exposure to the misuse substances that might normalize behaviors that may not have been normalized before. Sometimes peer pressure with those 12-year-olds and older, associating peers with engaging with these substances, and that means like they have similar behaviors, so it's okay, and then sometimes the social economic status where you're living in a community that has limited economics opportunities. And so they have the availability of drugs as almost a coping mechanism, but also the social economic status where you have the affluent community where they have way more money than need or things. And so they have the recreational use of drugs in that area. And then you also have social, cultural norms and sometimes social attitudes attribute to people having addictions, where they glamorize it or trivialize the use of drugs or recreational things. So that's just like some of the reasons why addictions occur. And there's also a genetic aspect to it as well. But addiction isn't just about drugs and alcohol. And that's the biggest thing I wanted to share with you guys today. It's not just about drugs and alcohol with people or even kids. Kids can develop dependencies on many everyday things. We can too. And so that's what I want to share with you today, right? So we can have the dependencies on sugar, sugar addictions. When we have sugar addictions, they can trigger our brain's reward system. When you take a lot of sugar, you have this, it increases dopamine receptors and all these things. I'll talk a little bit about it later. But when you have those, that reward system triggered, it also can cause you to have withdrawal symptoms when you don't have that sugar there, right? That's causing you to have that robo effect. Some people can be addicted to processed food, junk food, or fast food. It might be a special restaurant you like going to or love going to. But many processed foods are designed to be hyper palatable. They trigger the dopamine response because of the chemicals that are in it. And that could cause compulsive eating, even if you're not really hungry, right? Many of us have caffeine dependencies, and we don't look at that as an addiction, but a lot of times the caffeine alters our brain chemistry and it blocks adenosine, and that makes you feel tired. Adenosine. So when that caffeine blocks it, you have increased dopamine production, right? And over time, a dependency builds because you want to feel happy and you want to feel energetic, right? And then we have now, especially with adults and kids, we have that social media addiction as well as screen time addiction. Now, be careful with this because some people don't feel that they're social media addicts or screen addicts. However, think about the notifications that you run and check all the time. If some bell goes off, you might run and check that bell compulsively anytime you hear it. That's also a type of addiction. Video games. Those screens and those lights and video games are designed to hijack the dopamine production in your brain, and that kind of like creates a cycle of instant gratification and compulsive checking to make sure your game is updated or your email is updated or whatever that is, right? And then we have this new thing about the cigarettes and the chewing tobacco. That's not new, right? But those vapes are very new. And I can talk another 20 minutes about vapes and what that does to our body as well as how zeolite helps that, but we're not here for that one right now. And then also ladies or gentlemen, shopping compulsives, spending. Some people are addicted to spending, and they feel like buying something new releases. For them, buying something new makes them feel happy and energetic, and that's really that new release of dopamine, creating a temporary high, but that ultimately leads to stress and regret later, right? That's that cycle of addiction. And then typically we have stress eating. Some people eat stress when they're stressed. They have to get a chip, or they have to eat something or drink something. Emotional eating. So those things. And we typically are addicted to the carbs or fats, and those things trigger the dopamine as well in the brain, creating that cycle of emotional dependency. Now, saying this about addiction, right? And it can, I mean, everybody could have some type of a little inkling of that. Just thinking about how being addicted to it, or you've even seen someone addicted to something, right? What the biggest thing that I got clear on is the cravings. Cravings is the biggest part of the addiction, right? When you have a craving, it plays a central role in addiction because it drives the compulsive behavior, and it almost reinforces the cycle of substance abuse or whatever that action is. That craving can trigger, it's triggered by like a neurological changes, physiological associations, sometimes even environmental clues, like Christine was saying, going or smelling alcohol, walking past a bar, or smelling frying food. Like that is also a trigger, right? So when a person repeatedly uses a substance, what's interesting is that their brain's reward system becomes dependent on it. And that leads to intense urges, even when they are consciously want to stop. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea of how easy this can be and what that really does, I'm gonna give you a story. I love to give you the stories, right? So we're gonna imagine that there's a young woman, and we're gonna call her Maya. Okay. Young woman named Maya who used to feel pure joy by simply playing things like guitar, laughing with her friends, watching the sunset. She felt extreme joy. But over time, as stress and anxiety piled up, she started drinking alcohol just to take the edge off, right? Now, at first, it was just like a drink after work or a way to relax. But slowly, without her even realizing it, her brain started associating the alcohol that she was drinking just to take the edge off to like relief of pain. She was like feeling relief and pleasure and escape when she take the alcohol, right? So one day she decides to quit. Okay, I'm going to quit. She throws the bottles away. She's determined to reclaim her life. But then a few days later, she walks past her favorite bar, and the smells of the whiskey, the sound of the glasses clinking, um, that switch in her brain flips, and a deep craving surges in her body, right? And it's so strong and it's so fast, and it feels like hunger, right? And then her palms get sweaty, like Christine was saying. Palms get sweating, her heart racing, and the voices in her head is saying, just one drink, it won't hurt, just one, right? This craving isn't just a passing thought. It's a powerful force. And it's weird, it's deep in her brain. It's like really it's in there, right? So, but what's happening is her neurons that once normally or naturally fired with joy, like those dopamine receptors that was joy, and when she was happy, they fired and got her energy. That those naturally firing. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. All right, so those cravings that was just a passing thought, it's powerful force, right? Wired deep in her brain. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Neurons.
Okay, so her neurons once naturally firming, right? And they had with joy from life's small moments, they that all those little guitars, all that stuff, they are now screaming for alcohol to release the dopamine. So it's not in the same pathway as just looking at a sunset. Now that dopamine receptors is not open to that joy. It wants the alcohol to release so it can release the dopamine. So that feel good chemical, that dopamine, that addiction, that addiction hijacks it. Okay. So the addiction hijacks your receptors, so that you have to drink the alcohol in order to release the dopamine. Okay. Now,
Oh,
the more she fed, what happened?
wow.
So now the more she feeds this craving in the past, and then, like, the more she fed it in the past, the stronger it became. So, like, after over a time period, it gets stronger and stronger, like a path in the woods, right? If you when you go in the woods, it's like you gotta get through stuff, right? But after you keep walking through that trail, it gets wider and wider and wider, right? So that's how addiction is. The more you use it, the wider that path is. So now, even though she consciously wants to quit, her brain is still programmed to seek that quick reward to get that dopamine release, right? So the battle of addiction, which, where cravings aren't just about willpower, that is the battle, right? It's not about your willpower, it's about rewiring the brain itself, right? And to truly break free, Maya, she doesn't need to resist it. She needs to build new pathways, ones that'll lead to the natural joy and fulfillment instead of the substance, right? So this is where our zeolite works. This is where our products are beautiful in, because of the natural volcanic material that absorbs the heavy metals and toxins and other harmful substances. What zeolite does is is an addition to a treatment. It helps alleviate the cravings in a couple different ways. Okay. Now, the first way is that many additive substances leave toxic residue inside of our bodies and our tissues. And that residue helps prolong cravings, right? And what zeolite does in that regard is that it removes those toxins. Thank you very much. And it potentially reduces the withdrawal symptoms. So when you have less of that heavy metal residue hanging around, it won't prolong the cravings as long as before, right? And then another thing that our Zeolite product does, our Cell Defender does, is that it balances our neurotransmitters. Now, when we add our Cell Defender and to a person to their therapy program, if they're detoxing, it will help restore the mineral balance, which is crucial for proper brain function, right? So if I'm going to be restoring my mineral balance, I'm also making sure that my dopamine regulation is taken care of, and that's a really key player with addiction. Now, the other thing, which is awesome, is that our cell defender reduces the inflammation. Now, with chronic substance use, that often leads to inflammation, which can exacerbate your cravings and also your mental distress. So, our cell defender helps detoxify the properties that might help support overall brain function, right? So, it's not just about detoxing though, but you have to have other things as well. You have to make sure you have mindfulness, meditation, because remember, it's not about resisting the addiction. It's about creating new pathways so that you can have a healthier pathway to that fun and that dopamine receptor, right? Now, the awesome thing is that our cell defender allows, I know a lot of people have experienced the not having brain fog when they take cell defender. They're like, oh my, I'm just so clearly, I can understand, I see, right? So when we have those environmental toxins and things that we are trying to get out of our system, one main thing that our cell defender does is that, and we think that it's like natural. We think that sometimes when our friends are taking Cell Defender or taking our Zeolite products, they feel like, oh, my body is working normally. It's working naturally. I don't feel any different. It's like a gradual increase, a gradual increase in energy, a gradual increase in mental clarity. And this is the beautiful thing, because when we're taking the cell defender and we're adding that to our program to detoxify and to decrease our cravings and decrease our addiction, we're creating that pathway where is a gentle glide into that pathway. Instead of hacking through the weeds to get to to get to the dopamine receptors, it's almost like a smooth transition through, right? Now, one of the things that I wanted to remind you guys is that yes, taking a lot of taking things in our body that's not healthy, like drugs or tobacco or those products, they often have a lot of heavy metals and toxins in them, right? And our cell defender captures those things and help us eliminate them. And yes, it relieves the brain fog, the pH levels, all of that. But oh, sorry, I got distracted again. Okay. What was I just saying? Can you repeat what I just said?
Brain fog.
Brain fog.
Okay. After the brain fog, when we, okay, so if a person is, say, for instance, stop smoking, right? And they have these awesome cravings, right? They'll say, oh, okay, I have a craving. Now, this is what I want to say. Hold on, I gotta find it. I gotta find a study real quick.
Okay, take your time.
No problem. You see. Okay. All right. So one of the chief cravings that people have in addiction is they always have this sweets, right? You always hear, I don't know if you guys have heard, but when people stop smoking or they go on a diet, the first thing they always get is this craving for either chocolate or something they've never had before, right? And I wanted to share something. A lot of times when people are coming off of an addiction or they want to stop something and they have a craving, a lot of times they feel like the craving is a bad thing. They feel like, oh my God, I have a craving. It's because I'm going through withdrawal, and it's like that, right? However, I did some research, right? And one of the research I found out was that when you are trying to solidify one of those healthy pathways in your brain, when you stop something and you want to start a new way of health in your body, when you try to go in that healthy way, instead of having a craving for that addiction that you're stopping, you'll have an addiction of something natural. And that's almost like a confirmation that you're on the right path. So when you have that addiction of chocolate, a lot of times it's going to be dark chocolate. And that's the amazing thing, like dark chocolate, right? And it's amazing because when I read this part of the study, I was talking to Christine, and I talked to Christine or something, and her son was having this addiction. I mean, oh, not addiction, but a craving for dark chocolate. And it was so cool that I was able to
Smoking,
share with them.
chew.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Say again.
No, I want him to come on. He's at work, but when comes on home tonight, I said, I want you to come on and share what that experience that you're sharing. So
Oh,
hopefully he'll join us. Hopefully he'll be home in time to
oh,
share.
that'd be
So,
awesome.
yeah,
So
because we
anyway,
saw him
so
go
he
by with
came.
a bag of chocolate cherries, right?
Exactly. So anyway, so one of the things so that was amazing, right? So this is what I learned. When you have those cravings and you have this chocolate cravings, it's confirmation that you're on the right path. It's confirmation that your body is healthily looking at a pathway to go around those bad pathways so that you're a healthy craving what supplement your dopamine receptors, right? So the thing that a lot of problem with that is that we're not it's usually we don't do it in moderation. It's always like, oh my God, I just got a gorge because I have it, right? And the reason why it's usually dark chocolate and not milk chocolate is because dark chocolate has a huge amount of cacao. It's like 70%. It has this what's the substance called? I forgot. It's a substance that instigates 70% of dopamine production in the brain. And the reason why your body is triggered to want it is because somewhere in your past, when the first time you had chocolate, the dopamine receptors was like ding. And so when your body is going or creating that new pathway from the addiction to healthy cravings, it's gonna choose that thing that it know it can get that dopamine receptor to give you what you need. And so that's why you crave the chocolate. Now, what's amazing is that studies have shown that just don't eat the chocolate. right? In order to create those pathways to be healthy, you have to almost trick your brain into creating that reward system in a way that works for you. So a lot of people, what they do is they'll say, okay, when they get that craving, they'll say, oh, I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes and then I'll have that piece of chocolate. Because what happens is once you're rewarding yourself for an action that helps your health, not just feeding the craving, right? So it doesn't become a whole habit of eating compulsively, like creating a whole nother addiction, right? And so I thought that was amazing because along with the therapy, along with the abstaining from the substance and taking Violite, right? All of those interconnections help in creating a pathway, as well as consciously saying, okay, I'm going to take this piece of chocolate only after I do something that rewards my life, right? So it's rewiring that brain to where we need. Any questions so far?
I can't see the whole screen, so I can't see if the
Okay,
hands.
hold on. I'm gonna bring you back. One second.
Okay. Any
Okay.
questions so far?
I don't
No.
see any questions.
Chip, Nikita, I just wanted Chip to comment also on the plus relief because
Yes.
that's hopefully Ryan will be able to join us tonight, but that's been something that, I've worked with many people, not only with with smoking or the chew, but we've been using the plus relief for that when they feel that urge to use the plus relief. Would you mind, Chip, sharing something from it? Thank you, Nikita.
Sure,
No problem.
sure. Can you hear me okay, Christine?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Chip.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Nakita Warren, for your preparation. I mean, doesn't she do a beautiful job of, obviously there's a lot of effort and, it's a way to show that she respects this group and Avini and what the opportunity has for humans. And she does such a beautiful job of it. Really, really covered a lot of ground and a lot of possibilities there. Um, so, additional product in the world that we're working with our biochemist Rik Deitsch. He has all the way back to Duke University worked with neurologically active venoms. Started with cone snails. Hard to get very much from a cone snail, but there is a drug, and I believe he created it, that some people get in pain pumps, and it's called Prialt, and it's cone snail venom. But he found that he was able to get more of alpha cobra venom from the monocled Asian cobra. Why is it called a monocled Asian cobra? Because when he opens up his hood, there's just one circle on it. Most of them have like a face and they have two eyes, but a monocled Asian cobra only has one circle on the back of its hood. So things don't attack it from behind because it looks like it's looking at it. So you can get a lot of venom, and what we need from it is a 78 amino acid chain that modifies temporarily the shape of the receiving side of the chemical switches in our nervous system, allowing all the useful messages to go through, but filtering out the static. And if you want to get an image of how that might be, so everybody has walked by a microwave when something was cooking inside and you looked in the window and you could see the thing cooking. Did you ever wonder why it's not burning your eyes? If you look real closely, there's a screen on the window. It allows the frequency of visible light to come through, but the frequency of the radiation that's cooking is too large and it can't get out of the screen. It's essentially the same trick, only it's done biochemically by our Plus Relief product. So it became a fascination for me. Anyone who is having any kind of neurological distress, I began to wonder if Avini Plus Relief applied to that situation would help and make a difference by taking the static out of the nerve transmission, so only the useful stuff comes through. And what we're finding is that that's exactly what happens. I'm going to tell the most powerful story that I have when I get asked, and you can imagine it's frequently, about addiction stories. Very first came across to Rik. So this would have been 2005. Comes January, Marcy and I go, we always put on a healthy booth at the National Western Stock Show in Denver, biggest rodeo in the area in the wintertime. We've been there for 10 years in a row. So the pro rodeo cowboys get a kick out of coming by our booth. Hey, what do you got this year? Well, a couple of them came by and say, hey, you got anything to help with tobacco? We're trying to quit chewing. So here's Christine, same story. And we say, don't know. Here's what we got. This is our latest thing. Try these drops. And what is now Avini Cell Defender. Well, they came back later in the week and said, wow, amazing. All of a sudden, no craving. We're going to be able to do it. And so I didn't know it would work. They didn't know it worked, but it would work. So what's the very next thing that happens? I mean, that's kind of serious. I mean, lifelong, that could lead to problems. If you're the person's mom who's chewing, maybe you're pretty nervous about it, knowing what can happen over time, but it's not going to kill you today. Well, the very next question comes in from Hawaii. Phone rings. Hi, my daughter is pregnant. She's a meth addict. She's in prison. What do you have? Well, sometimes you can extrapolate. And I said, this is all I know. These pro cowboys came by and asked about you, and they said it helped them. Why wouldn't it help you with the same kind of thing with addiction with your daughter? So she bit on it and took it and made sure that her daughter got it and began to see improvement. She's in special care in the prison. Well, the people taking care of her saw the same thing. So they made sure she got it. The baby is born not a meth baby. High APGAR ratings. Grandma, mom, baby, all thrilled. That's the story that I've lived on about addiction ever since. And that's exactly how it happened. I didn't know it would happen. How many times do I tell you guys, trust your own intuition? Why not find out? Somebody's got to be the first one to go through that door. And so that's how it goes. Let's take a second and go with where Dr. Nakita went. How does meth work? It causes a gigantic dump of dopamine. Well, that's a naturally occurring product. Well, what happens if you take it again? Well, it dumps all you've got again, but you don't have so much. So now you think, I'll take more of the drug to get more of the dopamine, but it doesn't work that way because you are depleted. Now, and I just drew a picture at the top of my page, you are flying over the fire with a tanker that's empty. She's trying to put out a fire with a drug that can't do it because the natural side is exhausted and will literally burn herself to the ground doing it till her teeth fall out. Then somebody like her gets out of it. Who do they want to talk at the school function, at the school assembly? The person who is addicted got over it and tells that story. And I've always thought, Dr. Nakita touched on this at the very beginning. What's the matter with the person who said, I don't want to know what the attraction is because then I'd have to fight it the rest of my life? What if you outsmart it in that way? What if you just say no in the very beginning and you never touch it? Isn't that the person who ought to be talking in the school assembly? Shouldn't it be Dr. Nakita Warren, not the pregnant woman from prison? Or wouldn't it be, to be fair, most powerful to have both of them standing beside each other?
Yes.
At least have somebody represented who this is a trick in life, you guys, a trick in Avini for sure. Make your big decisions ahead of time, and then when the question's on the table, stick to your decision. That's a life lesson that'll always work. Make the decision ahead of time. When the question comes up, stick to your decision, no matter who's telling you otherwise.
Yes.
Mhm.
Chip, that's
I
something
really love,
my dad
yeah,
always said that to me, so we must still be related because that's something my dad drove into 5 kids. He'd always tell us that, I remember being very little and him telling us that line, saying that to us.
craziest thing with Christine and I, my family that blew up came from Middletown, New York. Christine comes from Middletown, New York. And every time she says something or I say something, the other one says, well, that's me. It's like, and I do actually have sisters and brothers that I've never met. And if I was guessing, I'm pretty sure maybe that's not the case, but it feels like we were raised together like we're sister and brother. It really does feel like that. It's amazing. One thing after another after another.
Chip,
Yeah.
Ryan just came in, so he's got to run out again, but I'm gonna let him just share his little story if that's okay, all right? So you can,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
this is my son Ryan.
Hello.
Hey, Ryan.
About the chocolate too.
How are you guys?
Happy to see you.
Glad to have you.
So I used the spray to quit nicotine and it worked. So I just wanted to share that testimonial.
Tell him about the chocolate.
And
The cherry, she was telling that story. The chocolate, you were eating the chocolate and you had a different craving.
I don't remember.
Oh, well, Dr. Nakita shared that.
But yeah, it works. So just wanted to let you know.
Wow.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye. So Ryan, Ryan had also had a motorcycle accident on his 21st birthday. He's 33 now. So he was nonverbal in this very room I'm in. He laid in this room for 15 months. It was a very dark time of our lives for me to worry about whether he was gonna, pull through. He broke his back and had a TBI. And when he started to recover, I had to go to work. I was still executive director going to work. And I'd worry when I would come home because I would drive up the driveway. Craig left at 6 in the morning and come home at 6 at night. And it would be dark days. I wouldn't know what I was going to find, especially when I was trained in mental health with suicide prevention and all. And one time he told me he wanted to get rid of a lot of stuff and give it all away. So it was a little scary. So, I didn't know about Avini back then. So what he wound up doing is he gravitated to a group of people and beer started popping in. So beer was in the house, right? So we kind of said, you can't do beer anymore. You're not supposed to drink. So he said, okay. So he started to smoke. He's been clean, no drinking, no smoking, 5.5 years actually. He hasn't touched any of it. But what he did do is replace it with those little pouches. So that's why he said, I got to try something. So Dr. Nakita and I last week were working with Ryan with that. And I grabbed her and I said, come talk to Ryan. And Ryan walked by with a bag of chocolate cherries. And she explained, well, that what she explained to us earlier. So thank God, there's no more alcohol, no more never any drugs. It was always alcohol, or cigarettes. And now we have this in every station of our house. So thanks for letting me share that. And he's a little shy, but I'm proud of him that he stepped up to the camera.
Wow. So great. So great.
When your product works when you need it to for somebody in your family, right? When it works then, and think about the effort. I'm sure there's been the very first money that buys products you earned someplace else. Christine earned someplace else. If only that one thing happened, there was never a business that grew, never a horse that got well. Just that one thing with her son. Would Avini be totally worth it? Just that one thing. That's the power we play with here.
Amen. Thank you, Chip.
By the way, when I grew up, I lived on Ryan Street. When my daughter graduated from high school, she was run over by a Brahma bull, TBI.
Oh,
So I kid you not, it's almost like we're the same person half a continent apart. By the way, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Nebraska has the widest beaches in the world, almost 1,000 miles of beach in both directions
Wow.
before you hit the ocean.
good
Sorry
job.
about that one.
That was good. Nakita, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to finish out a little bit of what I
Please.
wanted to finish something when I was saying. The last thing I wanted to say was that with all of our products, I just want you to understand that our products are not a substitute for professional addiction treatment. Okay. Individuals dealing with addiction, they should seek comprehensive care, a program, or healthcare professionals. However, now, one of the things I wanted to also say is that Cell Defender and these products are beautiful as like a accompaniment to any program or any addiction recovery program, right? So if you're in a program, this is awesome, something that you can awesome to take because like people are saying, if you're having those cravings, you can take the pain plus relief and actually get some help around that, right? But the other thing I wanted to say is that with the addiction and the cravings, with trying to detox your body, it's imperative to make sure that if you're going to initially take this product, you have to take the Marcy dose first, right? You have to make sure you're taking the product consistently at least for a week. And then you want to do the maintenance dose 3 times a day for a couple, like 2 to 4 weeks. And then long-term maintenance, like after your recovery, would probably be once a day, right? But it's also imperative to have a lot of hydration. And we can also recommend our hydrotherapy for that, making sure that because it has correct electrolyte balance, what they need, as well as diet recommendations for that intake. And then the most important thing also is our gut health. And we would suggest the fiber for that, our gut health, and that's imperative as well. And those 3 things, well, 4 things, because with the cell defender and the hydrotherapy, as well as the gut health, the fiber, I mean, that's complete system right there to be able to make sure your body is functioning, processing all of the heavy toxins and everything else out. And also making sure that the mind is in the proper state and balance with electrolytes, right? And then, in the program that you're in, and if you have done it in the past and you're doing, this on your own, making sure you have meditation and some type of therapy, some type of journaling, something to make sure that you can rewrite those pathways. And that's why I just wanted to make sure everyone know that it's not the one thing you can do, because sometimes when people are dealing with addiction, your body reacts a particular way. And it could be an emergency. So you want to make sure that you have some type of way to call someone or have somewhere to get help if you need it, right?
So just to say
Um,
an amen to Dr. Warren, and how would fiber and gut health have anything to do with addiction? Guess what? Your microbiome in your intestines makes most of the feel-good chemicals, especially things like serotonin, made in your gut, active in your brain. And so it's a direct connect.
Thank you, Chip.
Wow.
Any other questions, comments? Anybody want to share anything? This is your opportunity too. Please raise your hand or just unmute and feel free. We
I
have a
want to
few-
share something that's novella.
Hi, Novella.
Hi. Okay. Um, so a few things. A friend of mine just passed, and I had given her, she's somebody that she was always taking care of other people. And no matter what, her whole life, that's just what her life was dedicated to. And she had had some type of a stroke, and it had really impaired her body. I had given her some Cell Defender a while ago, and she didn't take it. But this time she started taking it, and she started feeling better. And she started going out there and helping people again. like doing, just trying to do, and even though her body wasn't doing what it needed to do, but she just felt like she could. But anyway, she passed. And then it's funny because her daughter was telling me today that there's people that have come to her and asked her, where do I get that stuff that Michelle was giving me? Because she was giving it to them instead of taking it herself. And so we have people to follow up on, like after her death. She died it's been about a week and a half ago now. So and that's one of the things, right? She's still like death doesn't stop, distributors
Her legacy is still
of a
moving
Ben of
forward.
Avini. Yeah. And then the other thing is I have another friend that she had went into hospice and I didn't even know it. Joy, Nakita. And she's an amazing person, and she's another person that took care of a lot of people. And so I just told her, I said, listen, I have this product that I have, and it's detox drops, and it's really, I don't know what it'll do for you, and I just feel like I want to do something, and I sent her a bottle. Well, she called me yesterday and she said, well, Novella, I want to find out where can I get some more of that stuff. And I said, and I didn't want to ask her, where she said, well, I'm at home now. She left hospice and now she's at home, and her voice was stronger and everything. And she has fibromyalgia. She has a neuropathy and a lot of pain, and she was like feeling much better. So it was just interesting. So, and the last thing that I want to say is, so for me, I'm telling you, my life has completely altered, right? I mean, I really should be doing this business more because, people around me get such extraordinary results. But I'm just having so much fun with my life. I'm like doing stuff that I didn't know that I could even do anymore. I'm like creating projects. I'm out there doing things. I got teams of people around me. I'm, out there in the world. I don't have time to be doing multi-level marketing. However, I am creating something so that I can, because there's other people out there that really want to do this business. And I meet a lot of people that, can use the products. And so, that's what I'm gearing up to. I created a form, and this form, and you guys you really want to do this with people, because this is what I found. It's like me, right? I was so used to being a particular way that when I started doing the product, and Kira would call me and say, what do you feel? What do you feel? I'm like, I just feel normal. Had she had me fill out some type of a survey where it was like, how long does it take you to walk? How quickly do you get tired? What do you say to yourself? What's in your head when you get up in the morning? What conversations are you having with yourself? What complaints do you have for your, like really a check-in? Because we do that stuff automatically and we don't know that we're doing it. And now I don't have those. So, people, when they start taking our product, they don't realize that it's the product. They just think, oh, I'm feeling healthy now. Because most people, they take the product because there's something off. And then they stop because I'm good now. And then they don't even realize it, And then when they feel bad again, they think, oh, I need something. And they go look for something else because they think that they don't realize it was our product. So I would encourage you guys to do some kind of survey when you're sending out stuff.
Wow.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Actually is.
Chip, I'm gonna have you. Anybody other want to make comment or question? I'm gonna have Chip close us out because we're getting near end. So I thank you for those
Wow.
comments, Novella.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. And for anyone else that feels that they want to make a comment, this is your opportunity. If not, we're gonna let Chip close us out.
Well, I
It
would
looks
say,
like Pat. Pat has her hand up. Hold on one second.
okay. Hey,
Go ahead, Pat.
Pat, you are muted.
I was going to say, that's okay. Chip can go ahead and finish up. That's all right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah. If you had,
I mean, my whole problem when I first came on the zeolite product, the detox product, was I had been in 40 years of pain. And I was on Schedule 2 narcotics at the time. Now, if I noticed, Dr. Nakita said functioning addicts. If I was addicted, I was rather than more tolerant of. I mean, I was very functional in that I was going to school, I was doing gin tournaments, I was doing poker tournaments and winning them. So I wasn't losing any mental faculty. But when I got on the detox, the drops, 5 days after that, I was no longer in all the pain. And I was in pain from the head to I'd blown out a shoulder, lost my leg, blown out the other knee. I was a mess. And I was no longer in pain after 5 days. So, and I was no longer taking the medications. I had weaned myself off in that 5 day period of time, and I didn't need them. I went to my pain doc 2 days later and said, "Here, I don't need any of your stuff." He said, "You're kidding me." And I went, "No, I'm not in any more pain."
Man.
And but he said, "Well, if you need help getting off," because I was on a fentanyl patch. He said, "If you need any help getting off of that, we can decrease it as we." And I went, "No, I don't need any help. I'm telling you, I'm off of it."
wow.
So now that might not have been the wisest thing, but the thing is, it worked for me, and amazing change in my life.
Thank you, Pat, for sharing that. I'm grateful that you shared that opportunity and that you took a big step in your life. All right.
Yeah, we
Chip,
certainly wouldn't want to miss out on Pat.
No.
Yeah, she gives insight. She gives us insight that we can't get anyplace else. And
Right.
so I thought it was really interesting that one of the things Dr. Nakita highlighted was this can be an affliction of the affluent.
Mhm.
And in society, it's kind of a base of humor, right? Think about Dean Martin. Everybody here probably remembers Dean Martin. Drunk all the time, and that was a joke, right? He was impaired, that was funny.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny until it's not,
Yeah.
right? There's a story about a woman who became a wine connoisseur. She was kind of a snobby, uppity wine connoisseur, and she finally got so good at it that she knew which wine went with which breakfast cereal.
Oh. Nice.
Okay, was that a joke or was that a tragedy? Oftentimes there is tragedy in humor, correct? But you think about Dean Martin, then John Wayne with cigarettes, Elvis Presley with the hard drugs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's funny until it's not funny. And sometimes, the most talented amongst us are tortured personalities. And if we can, have one of the things we provide here is a community to be with. I mean, if you're looking for a substitute, dark chocolate is one, but an Avini group like this is a great one too, right? That's so important. It really is. It's of great value. And we don't, see that so much, but those are some of the thoughts I was thinking. And, she was talking about the triggers that cause people to go back to that place in the mountain, kind of like Pavlov's dog. You ring the bell and he'll do what he's supposed to do when the bell rings. All this psychology, the psychology of network marketing is a powerful thing. When Dr. Thornton, Dr. Sandra and Al are on with us almost every time we get together here, 44 or more on here tonight. Avini Vibes is getting a following. That's one of our biggest gatherings. Well, she is a doctor of the mind. We have several doctors of the mind attracted to Avini because it gives them a tool that they can work with. It gives them something they can do, a tool they can apply to any problem and make a huge difference. If you're getting better, it's a lot easier to face the problem than if you're getting worse. These stories that we go through are so much easier to tell after you're okay again than they are when you're in the fight. But for those of you that step up and tell the story while you're in the fight, God bless you. Thank you for your interest in doing what we do here together. And, you know, once again, these Thursday nights are so, so special. Thank you all for making them special.
Thank
Back
you,
to you,
Chip.
Carol
Thank
and
you.
Christine. Back to you guys.
Thank
I was
you.
going to say thank you, Chip. We couldn't do it without you and everybody here. So Dr. Nakita, always a pleasure to have you also. And I can't be an addict. I am functional. That's what I faced when I saw those people. And unfortunately, as I put out an email, one of those people that showed up in the store no longer, because he didn't, I didn't share it with him. For some reason, I tried, but I didn't, and I didn't get through. And he took his own life. So that was really hard for me about 2 weeks ago to know that I had something that, you know, he had to be willing. I tried a couple times, but I got kind of shut down, and I thought I would keep at it, but I lost my opportunity. So don't lose the opportunities that come before us every day. Move on those promptings, take advantage of those promptings, and let's go out together and let's Aviniite, right? Let's go share more and change people's lives together. God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next week. If you have a topic that you want to hear about, you want to contribute, do me a favor, just shoot me an email and let us know. Carol or myself know, and we'll address those topics. We want to hear from you. This is all about you guys, okay? God bless
Beautiful.
you. Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Thanks to
Thank
all. Thanks to
you.
all.
Night.
Thank you.
It's been really real.
Good night.
Good night.
People are awesome.
How good they have
We are really real.
I love it.